I don't typically theorycraft. I talk about this. It's way better to present a build or a showcase in the game because things like Path of Building don't always show every single thing, every single nuance when it comes to ailments and so on. And you also have to take the new Path of Building for POE 2 with a little bit of a grain of salt because the developers are working very hard at it, but it is buggy, of course, because it's brand new. But regardless of all that, I wanted to look at the concept of Thorns in the game. I don't know if this would work, but I just want to showcase a setup, which I'll share below, which uses Thorns. It might work, it might not, but it's an interesting concept that people may want to play around with. And it's something I was interested in, and I'll show you how I went through this. This is a Warrior Warbringer, and it utilizes a tremendous amount of jewel sockets. And I'm going to walk through all that. I wanted to see how much thorn damage can you really get. There's only one section here in regards to crit damage bonus of thorns, crit chance of thorns. There are no other nodes relating to crit for thorns. There are some other sections of the tree here where you can gain thorns from a percent of your armor. So this uses a high armor, body armor. And I'm going to go ahead and add up all of these things here. Percent increased thorn damage. And then the other thing is this is basically utilizing max block as much as possible. A lot of block. In fact, over here we can see 77% block chance. This is without glancing blows because I didn't want a setup where you take 50% of damage from blocked hits. We want when you block, you don't take any damage. And it does have some energy shield floating around, just defensively. And another thing I'm going to walk through here, a lot of these, not the time lost ones, but these regular ones, percent increased life regeneration rate because we do utilize an adorned. So these are magic jewels, all of these are magic jewels, except for the adorned, and that's so that we get double the effect. So 30% increased life regen per ruby, and then you can get thorns up to 20%. Which is actually then 40%. So mathematically, I went through this. Here's the gear that you'll see. Now, you can only get thorn, like flat thorn sources from a shield, from a body armor, and from a belt. And we use beetle bite shoes because 100% increased thorn damage comes from the shoes. Now, we're using the anvil because that helps block. Now, realistically, I put this here because it's a source of flat thorns. It would actually be way better to use this here, this Phylon, because you do lose some block chance, but your block chance is lucky. With this, and without glancing blows, it's a 70% block chance, and it rolls lucky every time, so that'll be a huge amount of block chance. And then it gives you cast on block, and casting a spell when you block, walking around, passive. This is a passive, the concept of this is passive damage, right? Where thorns just means reflect, meaning as enemies hit you, they take damage from their own hits. So they're reflecting themselves. And so realistically, it'd be better to have cast on block, but we'll leave this here for now. And then the other thing is Crown of the Pale King would be necessary for this setup because it not only gives flat thorns, it's a unique helmet that gives flat thorns. You can't normally get that on a helm. But it also means thorn damage is triggered by all hits, which means not just melee attack. Typically, thorns is triggered by melee attacks. This means projectile attacks, and this means spell hits. And this means AoE hits, so the spells will also do it. The only thing would be debuffs. If you get a debuff like a poison, if you get a debuff where you've taken chaos damage over time, that of course does not trigger thorns. But, you know, with this here, you could still be casting on block. So, interesting. Of course, with certain spells, you know, block doesn't apply to spells. But there is spell block. So there are ways to optimize this. This is just a concept, as I say. You'll see we have 13 jewel sockets, and it utilizes these guys, which we add up here, 40% each, and then here the time lost, 30% increased effect of the small passive skills in the radius, meaning right here, these guys, this, and this, have 30% increased effect. Now, this is a Warbringer, and the reason is we walk through here, it converts our shield to 40% base block, especially if you're using this Phylon. And then right here, less block chance, but can block damage from all hits while the shield is not raised, so you don't have to worry about raising your shield. You just block them automatically with Turtle Charm. And then I went through this because in theory you would be war crying too. No cooldowns on your war cries. And then this is a corpse explosion. So the concept of this is you have a lot of mana. We would stack some mana on the gear. We use mind over matter so that we're, you know, because we're getting hit all the time. That's the point of this. You want to get hit. And so all the damage will be taken from the mana before the life. And then you have energy shield, and then you have max block, and then you have a lot of life regen, and then you have life gained on block. There are some nodes here, and like here, mana gained on block, and I believe it's down here somewhere. Is it this one? Movement speed when you block, which would be very nice quality of life, and then life gained when you block. So that's what it's all about here. 120 out of 123, and going through mathematically, flat, we have 56, these are just max numbers, 56 times 3, 23, and 44. This is coming from the Pale King, this is coming from the shield, and this is coming from the skill tree. This one right here, gain physical to 2% of armor from equipped body armor, because we have very high armor base. Now, by the way, as you look through this, you'll see, okay, high armor base. You could also go with this, which might be better. See, this might be better. It has like half, not, you know, a little bit more than half the armor, but gives you 417 energy shield and max res. This might be better here. They're both in there, and this might be better here. In fact, I think it would be better here. But, you know, the idea is max Thorns, going through mathematically, 235 flat, and then you get the percent from the boots, the tree nodes, these rubies with the adorned 100% horribly expensive item, and then the time lost, 732% increased thorn damage, which would be around 1955 sheeted. This does not take into account like curses and debuffs on the enemies that you might be applying, or the war cries that you're applying. And so the concept here is this would just be like as if it's from your weapon. Sounds like a high number. Would this work? Maybe. If I get it wealthy enough and I level up a warrior, I may just try it and see. It might feel like shit, or it might be strong, but it's something I wanted to share with you guys.